Have you ever left a conversation feeling guilty, drained, or like you explained yourself too much? Maybe it was with a friend, a coworker, or even a partner. That's emotional manipulation, and it happens way more often than people realize. Today, I'm going to break down exactly how this works and why it triggers these reactions in you. And most importantly, how you can protect yourself without losing your cool. Today, we'll cover how emotional manipulation shows up in your everyday life, why we react the way we do, the mistakes we make that make it worse, and how to protect your energy and boundaries. By the end of this video, you'll understand the signs, the emotional triggers, and the simple steps you can take to stay calm, feel confident, and in control, even when someone tries so hard to push your buttons. Manipulation can be subtle, it can be sneaky. It's rarely shouting or overt control. It shows up as passive aggression, guilt tripping, overloading you with work, giving you the silent treatment, making you question your own judgment, your own choices, and even your own decisions. Your brain reacts to these reactions as if there's a threat, even when logically you know that there's no danger. That's why it's so confusing. I remember I had a manager who would constantly give me work at the last minute. We're supposed to leave work at 4:30, and at 4:15, 4:20, she's handing off something to me that she knows will take 20 or 30 minutes to process. She'd smile and say she forgot to give it to me earlier. My first reaction was guilt and stress. And this is the reaction that manipulators count on, or natural urge to please. The key here is recognition. The moment you notice that gut reaction, the stress, the guilt, the hesitation, that's your signal. You're not weak, your nervous system is just reacting to a perceived threat. Imagine this, like long ago, our ancestors lived in caves where we would constantly be on the alert for the bear or the wild tiger that would eat us. We might not be anywhere near a bear physically. In our minds, we have that same anxiety, that same experience of stress in our body, that same pit in our stomach. And recognizing this pattern early is your first step to regaining control. And if you ever worry about what to say in these moments, I've created a guide with ready-to-use scripts that help you to respond clearly, calmly, and confidently, and protect your energy. These scripts are designed to help you to stay calm, to set boundaries, and feel empowered, not reactive. If that's something you think would help you on your journey, I've linked it in the description for you. Okay, so let's move into why we react the way we do. We tend to freeze, over-explain, or people please because our brains are wired to avoid conflict and maintain connection. Nervous system sees the manipulation as a threat, and it triggers a freeze or compliance response in us. That's why even as adults, we can feel like deers in headlights in moments like these. In a past relationship, small guilt trips were used whenever I said no to minor requests. Initially, I froze, trying to figure out how to respond. My body felt tense. My thoughts were flowing in all at once. That's your nervous system reacting. It's not a sign of weakness. With friends, I would either over-explain or freeze when they questioned my choices. Felt like I constantly had to justify my actions. That's people-pleasing, and manipulators often rely on this. Understanding why you react this way, why do you freeze, why do you over-explain, why do you have the tendency to people-please? This is what gives you power. And once you recognize this pattern, you can insert a pause. You can give yourself time to breathe. And you can respond with more intention. So the next time you notice that you're freezing or over-explaining during a tough conversation or interaction, pause and ask yourself, what am I feeling? Why am I reacting this way? So let's move into section 3. Let's talk about some common mistakes that people make that can actually make the manipulation worse. These are mistakes that give the manipulators more power, even unintentionally. Once you understand why these happen and how they backfire, you can break the cycle and protect your peace and your energy. Mistake number 1, freezing or taking too long to respond. Freezing or pausing too long might feel safe, but it actually gives your manipulators more control. When you don't respond, they start to fill the silence with their own narrative. They can make you feel anxious, second guess yourself, and pressure you into agreeing with them. Your pause is for you, but if it stretches out too long, it becomes their stage, not your moment to process the situation. So I had a friend from primary school. I had a friend that I knew practically my whole life, and we were friends up until college, and I kept this person in my life like way too long. But with her, she always had this thing of trying to control my choices. So there were 2 occasions that I can remember right now where we went shopping, right? We went shopping. We would go to the mall together when we had like free days off. Instead of just being in a rut of going from home to school, we intentionally said, okay, on Thursdays she's free and I'm also free in the afternoons, so we would go to the mall on Thursdays. We would go for long walks, we would do something just to get out of the house. So we went to a mall, and I remember we were going from store to store looking for stuff to buy or looking if we saw anything that we liked. And so there was a store, they had like these cute underwear in there. They were exactly the kind that I like. So I went over to them and I picked them up and I was looking at them, and immediately she starts saying, but I don't like that. But I don't like that. Like, I'm looking at the underwear for me because I like them, and she comes over to me, but I don't like those. But I don't like those. And I was shocked. I was like a deer in headlights. Like, I was freezing. I didn't even know what to say. Like, how do you respond to that? And do you know what I did? I literally just put them down and I walked away from it. Just because she came over to me, she was like, but I don't like those. I don't like those. I don't like those. I didn't know how to respond. Like, I froze, but I froze too long, and I let her take control of the situation. Even though I didn't intend to, I paused for way too long. My mind went blank and I just reacted, which was to just flee just to keep the peace. Another time, I remember that I like stir-fried veggies with chicken for dinner, and that was like one of my go-to things to make. Super simple and quick to make. So I remember I said like one time I was gonna go make dinner, so she's like, oh, what are you eating, more stir-fry? And I was like, yeah, I have stir-fry, I like stir-fry. And then her thing, she did the same thing she did with the underwear, where she's saying, but I don't like stir-fry, but I don't like stir-fry. We weren't eating the same food. She had her meals that she made for dinner and I had mine. But why is she telling me, but I don't like stir-fry, but I don't like stir-fry? Why is she telling me that? Like, as if she's saying that she doesn't like it, so I'm not supposed to eat it. So I remember then I froze too, but I did go and eat my stir-fry. I did go and eat my vegetables. I went and I ate my dinner. But I remember feeling so awkward after that conversation. Like, I was, one, concerned about why she felt the need to tell me that she doesn't like it, as if she's saying that I'm not supposed to eat it if she doesn't like it. And then 2, I kind of felt angry with myself because I was like, this is definitely a pattern now, and this is the second time and I haven't said anything. The key isn't to rush to respond, it's about pausing deliberately. Just a few seconds to breathe, to notice your emotions. That's how you reclaim control, not by pausing for minutes at a time. Mistake number 2 is over-explaining. Over-explaining feels natural to us because we want to explain ourselves. We want to justify our choices. We want to be understood. But this gives manipulators fuel to use against you. They can twist your words, they can create guilt, and pressure you even further. I remember growing up, I would always over-explain. Like, for example, if something happened at school or somewhere, and when I would talk to a particular family member about it, I was always told, oh, but you should have said this. Maybe if you had said this, you should have explained, you should have told them more so that they know. So growing up as an adult, I was stuck in the same pattern of constantly feeling like I need to over explain to co-workers, I need to over explain in my friendships, I need to over explain in my relationships. I was constantly over explaining because I didn't want anyone to misunderstand me, and then always feeling like, oh, but I should have said this, or I should have said that. And then with that same friend that I mentioned earlier, the one that was telling me, oh, but I don't like those, I don't like those, she loved to debate, she loved to argue, and I wasn't really like that. So she would constantly challenge my choices, just like what she did with the underwear and with the food that I like to eat. Sometimes with other things, she would pressure you to kind of explain the details. Like, why do you think that's a good choice? Are you sure that that is going to happen? Are you sure that this is this? And actually, instead of clearing the tension, it gave her more fuel to use, like more questions to ask, more points to make. It's like the debate kept going deeper and deeper when really I just wanted the conversation to end. It just left me feeling so drained. Instead of over explaining, focus on setting your boundary clearly and calmly. A short but confident answer is exactly what protects your energy. Mistake number 3 is people pleasing or agreeing immediately. People pleasing may feel safe, but it actually reinforces the manipulator's cycle. They learn that they can push your boundaries without having any consequences, and then drain your energy and your confidence over time. I used to agree to plans that I didn't want to just because I thought that it would make other people happy, whether family members, friends, partners. And almost every time I was putting their needs above my own. I didn't notice my discomfort at all because they had gotten what they wanted. After interactions like this, if you feel drained or stressed, or your mind keeps replaying the conversation, my free emotional reset guide can help. It's full of exercises to calm your body, reset your nervous system, and rebuild confidence. This will help you to feel grounded and ready for your next conversation. Now that we know what the mistakes are and why they work against us so well, let's look at how we can protect ourselves moving forward. So step 1, we're going to pause and notice how we feel. We're going to put a name to the feeling. I feel pressured. I feel angry. I feel frustrated. I feel tired. 2, we're going to check our boundaries. We're going to ask ourselves, am I okay with this? 3, we're going to decide our response mentally at first. So if we're going to say no, we need to decide that we're going to say no. We're not going to let them talk us out of our decision. We're going to say no. So we're deciding mentally first. And 4, we're going to respond, or we're going to set our limits. When I started to apply these steps to my own life, I could pause during manipulative interactions and set my boundaries mentally. My energy stayed intact, and I left the interaction feeling empowered instead of drained. Even a small pause can rewire your reactions over time. Your nervous system learns that you don't have to freeze and you don't have to over-explain either. You gain confidence in your responses. Remember, recognizing manipulation is so powerful, but having the words to respond makes it that much more potent. My freeze recovery response kit gives you the words to say. It gives you ready-to-use scripts for tricky situations like these. It will help you to respond confidently, with intention, protect your energy, and feel in control. The link in the description if you want to try it for yourself. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.